good.
Yeah.
Are you in Oslo now, or where are you?
No, I'm in just like 1 hour away from Oslo on where I have my studio, basically on a farm.
Okay.
So I'm in what I call my Corona camp, which is very nice way to say it because it's really beautiful out here. You know, it's middle of the countryside. I can play music as loud as I want. I have this house where I'm staying right now. I have a barn with my studio, just like a couple of 100 yards away, so I can basically sit here and be creative and do these interviews and stay away from people and the whole craziness outside and spend my time doing what I like most and making music and stuff like that.
Wow, that's great.
Yeah.
Um, how are things in Norway doing with the pandemic right now?
Well, Norway is one of the countries where this haven't really hit that hard. I mean, we have had all the quarantine and shutting down all the schools. All the restaurants in Oslo haven't been, open since mid-March. No alcohol serving in Oslo, which is strange. All the bars are closed. There's been a lot of layoffs in industries like tourism and restaurants and all that stuff is still going on here too. But death toll in Norway is 211 people, and there is 7,500 with this corona. So we're nowhere near where it's the big countries, obviously, but it's we're part of it, of course. But it's a little bit different.
Yeah. Well, I'm in Chicago, and
Mm-hmm.
it's pretty bad here.
Yeah, that's what I heard. Yeah.
Yeah, we have uh, anywhere between 1 to 2,000 new cases every day, just
Wow.
in just in Chicago, with 100 or so deaths every day.
Wow. That's rough. That's really
Yeah,
bad.
and as the weather gets nicer, um, people want to go out and congregate, and that a lot.
Yeah.
So how are you? What are you doing to stay busy during this weird time?
Well, basically, I've had my own weird time starting before this weird time started with myself getting diagnosed with cancer last year.
Oh,
So
I'm so
this
sorry.
no, it's okay because I got a successful surgery in January and I'm officially cancer free now.
Oh, well, that's great.
Yeah. So the whole apocalypse coming to the world kind of coincided with me getting better from cancer and then getting into my final stages of chemotherapy, which I'm doing now. So to me, it's like everybody else got on board my, on my system of not getting sick, basically, because when you're doing chemo, the worst thing that can happen to you is to get any illness at all on top of your cancer treatment, because then you have to abort whatever you're doing.
Right.
So I'm getting better and better every day, while the world is getting worse and worse. So it feels kind of weird, you know.
Yeah, I can imagine.
Yeah. So but I in the beginning, when nobody really knew how this was going to play out, and still we don't know, but in the beginning it was kind of scary to go to the hospital for chemo, because in my hospital, uh, the doorways into the cancer place was next to where all the COVID-19 people would go and test themselves. And I was like, of all the places that those two should not meet, you know?
Yeah.
they could, why not put them on the other side of that other building? So they've done that now, but you know, in the beginning of things, people don't think clear. But I don't know. It's been such a strange time for everybody, and I think it's a time we will all remember for the rest of our lives. And we still don't know what's going to happen, but I'm pretty sure that we will all come out of it with a very different perspective on many things. And I'm just trying to stay positive and think that, you know, humans always kind of evolve, and I mean, understand where we can do something positive with things, regardless of all the, you know, craziness that goes on. We always find some way around things.
Sure.
And I think it's probably not all bad for us to have like a stop in what we're doing, to look at ourselves. You know, sometimes we need that to realize that maybe everything we're doing isn't perfect. One thing I saw that we're all such, you know, we all just think that everybody else is wrong sometimes, and the Chinese with the wet markets and all that is behind the virus. And it's easy to say that stuff, and then we look at the farming industry in the West, where we're using antibiotics on farm animals for food, and if the antibiotics level with the bacteria goes to a certain point where antibiotics doesn't work anymore, we could have the Black Plague back or something, you know. And that's something we don't talk about in the West. We just point to them like, yeah, they're wrong because they're doing that, and we're not that much better, you know. And sometimes humans have to realize that we're sometimes actually in this together. We're on this one planet, and we fuck it up together.
Yeah, that's true. That's really true.
It's not one people's fault that something's going on. And I think looking at things like, you know, we against the others, it's not really going to work in this moment. You know, we really have to collaborate to make this better. And pointing fingers is not going to help anyone.
No, you're right. Not at all. Definitely. So recently, Cadaver, you released your new EP, D.G.A.F. It's been your first new music in a while, and your first with your new label, Nuclear Blast. How is that going with the release of the new EP?
It's going really, really well. I'm really happy that we found Nuclear Blast to do this for us, because they seem to be the most enthusiastic people out there right now with what we're doing. So I couldn't be more happy about getting them to release this music, because they really are behind everything we do, and really, really push it to everywhere. And I'm super stoked about that. And of course, just to be able to record and release new music, and especially now with you know, my condition, like I told you, makes it even more sense for me to just continue to do this. It's been a lifelong project, and now it's definitely not going to stop. So I'm looking into this like a new start for me in many ways, just to you know, make Cadaver, you know, make something right for Cadaver, because I always felt that, you know, there was something unfulfilled with everything I've done with that, because it was my first real band and my first real concept and my first, you know, ideas. And we were, you know, if you're way too ahead of your time, sometimes you feel like, you know, you should have done this, you should have done that. But now it feels like it's all a part of a huge story. And I can just jump in where I am now and just move freely into wherever I want to. And it's easier now to actually get what we try to do across to people than it was in the past somehow. So everything's happening for a reason, I guess.
Sure. Well, it's a great EP. I've enjoyed listening to it, and it's very powerful.
Thank you very much, sir. Thank you.
The title track, D.G.A.F, features help on vocals from Jeff Walker of Carcass.
Yeah.
So how did that union come about?
Well, it's basically a reunion because he was the guy that signed the band originally to his own label, Necrosis Records, back in '89. And back then, that was a mind-blowing situation for me, being 17 years old at the time. And I think he was probably 19, so he wasn't that much older than me. But still, he was one of the inspirations for finding this European death metal sound that we were looking for. And when Carcass came out with their stuff, we realized that, we have to do, this is opening up stuff for us. So when they signed us, we were mind blown, and it started my career as a recording artist. So when I decided to get Cadaver back, and it coincided with the fact that Carcass was doing a show in Los Angeles when we were recording the album, we just went down there to see the show and talked to him about the new album and this track I had, and I had some ideas for him to do some vocals, and he just did some vocals straight into my phone, which I ended up using on the track, and it worked really fine. So it was a great honor to have him being on the record when I finally did let's say, this comeback like 30 years later.
It's really cool that you're friends with him and got him to help out a bit.
Yeah.
What's the meaning behind D.G.A.F? Don't give a fuck.
Yeah, it's quite the opposite of what it sounds like. It's I'm a 47-year-old man, so I'm not standing like a little bit. But the true thing is that I realized that it's my opposition towards being pretentious. Basically, there's a lot of people out there. Most people now portray themselves with social media profiles as a perfect version of themselves more than ever. And everybody knows it's a lie. Nobody makes this perfect meals that they take pictures of every day and have this perfect workouts and the perfect friends and the perfect trips they do and all this shit they try to do. And that's like a sign of the times that you want to be perfect. And what I learned in life is that if you want to do something interesting in life, you have to try to, you have to fail sometimes. If you don't fail miserably, you will never experience anything really truly interesting. And people that are afraid of, trying something because they think that will, lead to failure, will end up not doing anything interesting, So I think it's a very important thing for people to realize that if you fail, nobody cares really. You have to learn something from it. If you succeed, it's because you have failed or learned something, whatever it is, And that's what I mean. Don't give a fuck about what other people say about what you should do, basically. Just do what you want to do. Be real. Be yourself, basically. Very simple, old school image. Message, but it's sometimes you have to shake people to tell them, like, come on, this is actually what it's all about. Sometimes don't fake it.
Yeah, that's a good message to have. I wish I was more like that.
Well, we can all do that better. I can do that better myself too. And I'm telling this to myself as well. It's not like everybody dare to be themselves all the time. It's really fucking hard, especially nowadays when people really truly want to portray themselves as better than they are. But who's measuring what? That's why I don't like measuring everything about likes or numbers either. It's like back in the day, I didn't care if there was like 40 people in the room showing up to see my band. My band played with Darkthrone and Mayhem in Oslo in 1990 with 60 people. We didn't think that was a bad turnout. We didn't care if anyone was there. We just played music. We didn't do this for fame and fortune or success. We just did this for ourselves, and I think that's so hard to, rooted in my spine that it's really, I can't, go out of that. I think that's the most important thing,
Right.
do what you want to do and truly appreciate whoever wants to join you, no matter how many numbers that is. If you have 10 or 5 hardcore fans, that's fucking 5 or 10 people who's literally it's so much cooler to have that than tell like 1,000 people saying, yeah, that's cool, and then they forget about it.
True.
Yeah, true value is something else than big numbers.
Yeah, for sure. How do you think CADAVER'S music has changed over the years? How has the band evolved?
Well, it's basically evolved a lot about changing drummers. Basically, is the key for me to be inspired to make music. I've been very, very fortunate to have some of the best drummers I could find to play with, in all the periods of the band, the 3 main periods of the band. And without them, I wouldn't be able to do what I'm doing as a musician. And that's something people don't really talk about that much, because basically they don't know. But in metal, there's this thing about guitarists making all the riffs, and yeah, we do. But without those drummers, we do that, the thing we do with the guitars towards the drums. Without that, it wouldn't be that interesting. Then it would just be like, yeah, whatever. So that the combination really is the key to push music forward. And I think the way that we recorded it with live drums in the room, not using too much click tracks sometimes, but not really as the main thing, not using click tracks, meaning that the music lives and the sparks off each other as musicians. Of course, you can say that we're really good at what we're doing, but that's a part of it as well. But basically the inspiration and the moment, and to get that energy down, and that's what you hear when you hear this, is that, the true energy of the music. And that's really, to me, what it's all about. If it's all calculated into this framework of being this and that, or the perfect tempo and everything's perfect, that's not really brutal music, or even music to me. It should live and, breathe and do all that stuff. All the small wrong parts, it's a big part of it. So I think what we're trying to do is basically to be organic and true to where we come from as musicians, and push that forward for ourselves and for you listeners.
Cool. Well, right now it's just the two of you, on guitars and Dirk on the drums.
Yeah.
Do you ever see yourself opening up the band to more members, more, more guitarists?
Yeah, actually, there is another guest on this EP, which also has been on stage with us live last year. We did one show, and that's Destructor. He used to play in Morbid Angel for 8 years.
Mm-hmm.
So he's actually doing the lead guitars on the EP, and he did the live guitars for us when we played the show in just outside Oslo last year. But he's also busy with other bands. So the thing is, now we will have other musicians for live scenarios and collaborations. And I think it's probably even before this apocalypse happened, I had the idea of having different musicians in different territories of the world, because so also interesting artistically, but another thing, really hard to get, for instance, to your country without work visas, and the cost of having a band like this flying over 5 people, just too much money going into transportation and formalia to even, be able to just do some shows. So I was thinking,
Right.
if I'm the only guy flying over, I can use some interesting musicians there to join forces and be cadaver with me. And now that's probably the only way to do it for, you know, the post-apocalyptic touring cycle.
Sure.
But I'm you know, also we had way back in the day, we had a guy on double bass playing very, very different style. And he's been in touch this week, and he want to come and jam with me next week. So maybe I'll do a jam with him too. I'm kind of open to all kinds of things, but I'll keep the band as a duo for the creative part as of now with me and Dirk, and then we'll use collaborations and other musicians for other things, and make different live scenarios. Maybe that's, you know, another way to look at things now, especially when touring is going to be different next time we're able to tour. And it's almost going total old school to how things were back in the day when jazz used to be the only music around. You know, jazz musicians used to do it like that.
Yeah.
So maybe the idea of having like these four guys are the band, that's not over. That's what I'm saying. But there's other ways to do it, and for us, being more like a concept and using other musicians makes more sense. Why not? There's so many great musicians out there. You know, I'd rather play with more musicians than less musicians over the time. You know, because there's literally a bunch of people that can contribute with cool stuff, and as long as you have like a strong message and a strong core and a strong identity, I think you can do that well.
True.
Why not? Brave new world.
Yes, for sure. Everything has changed. That's why. Do you see live music and touring coming back anytime soon? I know it's different in your country than it is in America, but what do you think is going to happen with touring in the future?
Right now, I don't know. Don't want to predict anything right now, because I know it's coming back somehow, but I don't know how or how it will look like. Everybody has to be sure that this thing is kind of, you know, if it's not over, it should be dealt with in a way that can be dealt with. But I'm pretty sure we'll adapt and figure out how to get entertained or our kicks out of something. We can't all be sitting like this watching screens for the rest of our lives. I'm not that for sure. That's not going to happen. We need to see people play in the same room somehow.
Yeah,
I need that.
I miss it so much. It's crazy.
Yeah, it's fucked up. I've had already 11 festivals scrapped this year. You know, it's like, you know, my whole life is, you know, summertime is always playing festivals,
right.
and that's much cool stuff. And now everything's like that. Boom. You know, it's like, well, it's yeah, something has to change. Of course, we'll see. We don't know, which is interesting too. I kind of like. I like not knowing, as long as something's going to figure out a way to do something that looked like it used to be before, but I don't know. My guess is as good as yours.
That's true. What are your plans for Cadaver once this is all over with?
Well, there's touring plans. You know, all the festivals this year has just announced that they will have us next year. So right now, that's what I'm looking at. You know, there's not much else I can do. So I'm planning to get out there as soon as it's allowed, basically.
Right.
And I will probably write another record before this record is even out. That's another thing, which is, you know, if I have to stay home and not tour, I will make more music, basically.
What about your new full length? Is that already recorded, or do you still have to record?
No, it's recorded, mixed, and ready to go. It's just waiting for recording plans and timelines to work it out. So that's sitting there beautifully, coming out in November, I'm told.
Oh, good.
Yeah, fingers crossed. Knock
Yeah,
on wood.
really.
Yeah.
Looking
Oh yeah.
looking forward to that.
Perfect.
If it's anything
Awesome.
like the EP, I'm really looking forward to the new full length.
Oh yeah. No, it's gonna be. Oh, I have to say it's gonna be even better.
Good. That's
I'm,
good to
I'm
hear.
really, yeah, I'm really proud of it. It's gonna fucking kill. Yeah. I'm looking
Awesome.
forward to getting people into it. Yeah.
Well, great. Well, Anders, I don't want to keep you any longer. Just want to thank you for taking time out to speak with me today. I really appreciate it. It's been a pleasure talking with you.
Thank you very much. Same to you.
And I wish you the best of luck with Cadaver and all your other projects in the future. Hopefully, we'll get stuff going again and get back on the road and stuff.
Of course. Yeah. We'll see you then. All right.
All right. Well, thank you. And I look forward to seeing you in Chicago sometime soon.
I will love to come and play there for sure.
All right. Well, you take care, Anders, and I really appreciate it. Thanks so much.
Thank you. Bye bye.
All right. Have a good day.
Thank you very much. Same to you. Bye bye.
All right. Bye bye.